Get ready to spring into action. You're about to hear from changemakers and thought leaders who are making a difference by embodying their mission. Welcome to Leadership Trends and Insights, a show with one purpose: to supercharge your leadership. And now your host, Nina Segura.
Welcome. I'm so excited. I'm Nina Segura, and today I'm joined by Kelly Nagel. She is a technology leader, diversity and inclusion advocate extraordinaire, and she is also an adopted daughter and mother of an adopted son. Kelly, thank you so much for making time to meet with us today.
Thank you for having me, Nina. I'm so excited to be here.
I wanted to meet with you because the few times that we've been able to chat, because I know we're both super busy, we've hit some really amazing topics about what the world is needing and calling for now more than ever. And I'd love for you to share your insights with us.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is the world is calling for a different return to work since the pandemic, and they're looking for a company that allows them to balance working from home, working in an office, and working from really anywhere, and how they want to manage with their family. And one of my peers just came back to the office for the first time, and he said, "This was the first time I've missed having breakfast with my family. I've missed having dinner with my family, and I barely got home to put my kids into bed. And I can't do this every day. I want to make sure I'm balancing the way I had things during the pandemic and the future." So I think we're really seeing people and employees demand for something different as we return back into this new normal and what we want it to be.
So the best leaders are conscious of what's happening with the people that they're working with and their learning curve and their desires to maybe have a more flexible work environment.
Absolutely. I mean, I was actually in the grocery store the other day, and I heard a gentleman say, "My boss is calling me to be back in the office 5 days a week, and I don't want to work in that way anymore. So I'm going to look for a new job." And that is the where we're in today. If you're not a company that is empowering people to have a flexible schedule, you will lose your employees. And I'm hearing it firsthand, and you're seeing backlash from many companies that are demanding people to be back in the office X amount of days. And if you're not going to be flexible, then you're going to have challenges in attracting and retaining talent in your organization through the next 1 to 2 years.
So if I'm just being focused on you have to be here every day and do these things, and I'm not really leading with my heart, I'm not really thinking about how I can best set my best employees up for success, I'm probably going to be outperformed at some point.
Yes, absolutely.
So the best leaders are ones that are really tuning in, looking at like, how can I communicate outcomes? They're thinking about what can I do to really consider how to clearly communicate performance and really being with. And you had mentioned it earlier offline about the younger generations. The younger generations aren't going to want to be in the office 24/7 either, probably.
No, definitely not. At least my son is a native technology-born child, so he's had a phone, a laptop, and an iPad for his entire life. And they get on videos; they don't care what their hair looks like. He's used to being on video 24/7 and using the technology, whereas some of us have to get up a little earlier to look video ready. But they're used to communicating via video and in technology, and that is something we have to be cognizant as leaders, and as we're shaping and framing what our organization and what our return to office or what our everyday looks like. You have to consider the generations that are coming up, are up and coming, and how they'll want to work and do business.
What do you think are some old paradigms that maybe even you struggle with in your organization that get in the way of that?
Well, out of sight, out of mind. People that work from home, I've heard, are lazy. I've been working from home for the last 8 years, but at Jabra, we've been a flexible company for years and years and years. And most of our, 360 plus North America based employees, more than half of them don't ever go to an office. So they work from home 100%, or work from a plane, or, a car, or a coffee shop, or wherever that might be. And then those who did report to our office, they never were there 5 days a week. They were flexible. They were there maybe 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 2 days a week, depending. Or some, like myself, I live in Buffalo and my office is outside of Boston. So I'm in Boston once a month, and I'm usually it was in our Copenhagen office once a month. And the rest of the time I was at home or in front of a customer or somewhere else. And I think if you've got the right setup and technology, you can truly do your work from anywhere. Now, there's definitely times, and I agree, we've been missing our collaboration with the team and getting back together. So we are going to reopen our office slowly in September. So I think you will see people wanting to come back to the office. But if you mandate you've got to be there, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, that's really not creating a flexible working environment for people. So you have to be considerate.
So being committed to the collaboration and then looking for ways that can occur regardless of if it's virtual, in person, but really focusing in on we are a collaborative culture and this is how we can best work.
100%. And having the right technology and unified communication platform is going to allow you to do that. So we're seeing people that are just hungry for technology. What do I need to have video wise? And how do you so you might have some people in the office in a meeting and you have some people that are remote. So how do you make sure the people that are at home feel a part of that meeting and are included, and to make sure that they feel a part of it, even though they're not in the room? So these are going to be some challenges that companies are going to be facing in the upcoming, 1 to 2 years.
So the best leaders are looking at how can I build facilitation skills and inclusion skills in meeting protocols.
Yes.
Where we're looking at, if we do have a blended virtual in-person meeting, how can we make sure that every voice is heard and listened to, and we're enrolling and making sure that we're being present as a facilitator of that session.
Yes, and making sure you call them out if you haven't heard from them. Hey, Joe, or hey, Susie, we haven't heard from you. We'd love to hear your input on this. But making sure you're hearing from every voice, not just the voices in the room or the loudest voices. So you're going to have to kind of change some of your protocols or your meeting protocols that you would have had 1.5 years ago.
When you think about, let's say, for example, this happens where the best companies in the world, such as yours and the rest of the organizational people listening to this message that are leading their organizational cultures are like, yes, we want to be part of that, the inclusion. We're holding this front and center. Let's say, for example, that occurs. And over the next few years, we see more conscious leadership as it relates to, regardless of vehicle, that there's collaboration and focus on inclusion. What would be a bold prediction you have for the future?
A bold prediction for the future would be, if you don't adopt a diverse, inclusive, belonging, equity company, you will probably be outperformed by your competitors, because the studies and proof has shown that if you are a company of not just an equal balance of men and women, but culturally differential, you are going to outperform your companies that are not as diverse. So it's a true fact. McKinsey doesn't lie. You can go out and lots of studies are out there, but it's true. If you're not thinking diversity and inclusion, equity and belonging, you're going to be left probably behind.
So basically, there'll be higher and higher performance levels of these organizations that are looking at focusing on what really matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Kelly, thanks so much for joining us today. You're fantastic. I love the work you're doing. I stand shoulder to shoulder with you, and I'm so, so glad to be a vehicle of your leadership getting out to our world. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Nina. Have a great day.
Bye.